Coach Kirk here from Hartsville Country Club in South Carolina. We're starting a series of tennis tips, and today we're going to talk about line calls and the code of conduct to make the game more enjoyable, and what to do when you play against somebody who's not honorable and makes line calls to their favor. Well, let's start with the code of conduct, which is a set of principles that covers the unwritten rules of tennis, with the main precept being that tennis is a game that is self-governed and it requires courtesy and cooperation to make the game enjoyable between the two players. So courtesy and cooperation. To extend the play, to keep the game delightful. Unfortunately and sadly, this is kind of a thing from yesteryear. People have become stinkeroos of cheaters. They've become very good at cheating, and you have to know how to deal with those people when you run into them. You want to be the person that's classy and has the understanding that when the call is in doubt, you give the benefit of doubt to your opponent, not yourself. Tennis is a game where it's one against one, and we're trying to preserve ourselves. We're trying to endure and overcome, and tennis players tend to make calls in their own favor. Few do the right thing and make the call in the favor of their opponent when things are in doubt. So there's many little branches to this, but let's go through a few things. During the course of play, as the ball is zipping around 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, nobody has good enough eyesight to make every call accurately. So you got to give your opponent some grace, and you got to give yourself some grace. And if you're just not sure, you should call the ball in to your opponent's favor. That's the cool thing to do. It's good karma. It'll come back to you. The other thing you need to do is you need to make a verbal call, and you should include a hand call. So this is out, this is in. Particularly when I'm chasing on a ball over my head and my voice is pointed to the back fence. So I call it out and they didn't hear it. I want to include a hand signal. And if I do that promptly, that tends to eliminate squabbles and disputes. All right, let's talk about how to handle some disputes, because that's going to happen. And it happens in juniors and it happens in adults. Let's start with the juniors. Sadly, little kids are under so much pressure because they're not emotionally capable of understanding the big picture unless they've been coached that way to be incredible sports people. Their parents want them to win. They're on show court. There's a lot of people around and they want to win. The little kid wants to win so bad that he's going to make and she's going to make bad calls. And it happens terribly a lot. And then you have the parent that is blaming, the coach, that their child that they coach is cheating against their child. And all kids tend to make bad calls and cheat, and some more than others, unless they've been coached to be good sports. So what do? You're playing a match, your child is playing a match. First of all, as a spectator, you don't get to be involved in the match. You don't get to be involved and brought into the discussion of the ball was in or out. Do not do that. That is bad form, and it causes all kinds of problems. After the match, talk to your child, have your coach talk to your child, and get this stuff sorted out early. But here's what we do, all right? Here's how I coach my kids. The first offense, where you think that you've been slighted on a bad call, give the call a good long look. If you believe that it was truly, pardon me, I'm getting a call here. Let me shut that down. If you think it was in and it was called out, give it a good long look. Say, hey, are you sure about the call? But don't make a big fuss of it, okay? You may have missed it. The second time it happens, get up a little closer to the net and go, hey, Sam, are you sure about the call? Looks like that was in. We've had a couple of misunderstandings. Usually as you step up the second time, it kind of shuts down the behavior. If it continues a third time, go up to the net and say, are you absolutely sure about that call? Because this is the third time it seems like you've made a bad call. And if we can't sort it out, I'm going to go get a monitor. Right? Don't storm off and go get the monitor or the umpire at the tournament on the very first call. That just sets the tone to have it be a miserable match. And it's embarrassing to you and your opponent. And then all the parents are gathered up and wondering what's going on over here. These two kids can't have a fun match. So, but going through that progression tends to dampen the escalation of the problem. The other thing, as I mentioned, make your calls quickly, verbally, and with a signal. Okay. All right. And then always revert back to and go study the code of conduct, because very few people have read it, but it's a very intelligent, well-written batch of articles about everything, the unwritten rules of tennis, to make it more enjoyable. That's it for this tennis tip on line calls and how to have a better match. I hope this serves you well. I hope it helps you. Oh, adults, be a good role model for your kids. Start playing more fairly. Have some class. Don't be that person that's known as the stinkeroo. You're not going to get invited to the nice special events. If I have a social and I got 12 people to play, I'm not going to invite the one that's got a bad attitude that tends to make bad calls. They're not going to go on the trip to Paris with us to the French Open. They're not on the list. We're going to bring people that know how to be a good host. They don't make a big deal out of winning or losing. They want to play socially. All right. Now, what to do when you have the dingbat that is just giving you a hard time on the court with bad calls. The first time, again, say, hey, are you sure? Don't make a big fuss. The second time, what I would say to this adult, because I know that they're cheating, I would just call them out and say, is this how you want to play? So is this how you want to play? It's a question that makes them kind of ponder, how am I playing? Right? And they know how they're playing. It makes them look in the mirror. And now, if you're dealing with a psychotic, they're going to yell and bring it back to you and blame you as the cheater. But usually, it will kind of shut things down. The other thing I do, as I mentioned earlier, is I will bring my targets in about 4 feet from the single sideline on both sides and the baseline. So, seems unfair, right? I'm shrinking the court, so I have to hit into less court. Well, it makes me mentally tough, number one. Number two, it makes me more consistent because I'm not aiming for the line, therefore I'm not flirting with the line. And because I'm not flirting with the line, my opponent has less chance to steal points from me. Plus, I'm getting more consistent. I'm getting more balls in play. So whenever I play somebody that has a history of making bad calls, well, first of all, I'm preparing myself to not come unglued. You want to stay calm and let them know that their antics don't faze you, right? 2 or 3 points ain't going to make the difference in the match. I got to manage the match better in terms of my consistency and unforced errors. I got to get my unforced error counts down. If I'm playing against somebody that's that poor of a sport, then that just makes me wake up my radar to get very engaged in the match early and bring my targets in. Try to keep a even keel about it. Don't let this person, they're very good at getting you emotionally twisted. They've been doing it a long time. So if you bring your targets in, that's a great way to handle the situation. And then, they're not going to get invited to my special parties to play tennis as we travel around with a group of great people. Anyway, I hope that helps you play better, compete better, help your kids do better. I'm Coach Kirk, Hartsville Country Club in South Carolina. Come on out and play some tennis with us.